Welcome everybody to Rio Vista. This is a very special house built for William Benjamin Chaffee, who was a founder of Mildura Irrigation Colony. I'm here at the front and I want to point out a couple of things which I'll tell you a bit more about as we go, and I'll share with you some of the secrets of this very beautiful mansion, which is about 130 years old. 3 stories. Up there's a balcony which gives the house its name because it was named Rio Vista, which means river view, and from there you have a river view. I want to point out some stairs down there. That leads to a very special basement which we'll visit with some very important stories and secrets that we'll discover when we get there. Here we are inside. Have a look at this magnificent doorway. These stained glass windows were specially imported from England. All of this wallpaper has been carefully restored, but this was the original design. And as we come in, we eventually arrive at this magnificent staircase. There's a few secrets about these that I'm going to tell you a little bit later. Here we are in the Rio Vista Chaffee kitchen. We must remember 130 years ago, things were very different. There was no electricity. Everything had to be cooked on a wood fire stove. We put the wood in there and then we opened up this oven and we cooked all our goods, our roast and our cakes in there. No electric hot water. So we had to use this very heavy cast iron kettle and keep it hot all day. And of course, no electric iron. So this was filled with coals and put on top of the stove to keep it warm for ironing. And of course, no refrigerators to keep the food cool, so the iceman used to come and put a big block of ice in here, which used to drip down into the bottom where you kept your perishables like milk, eggs, cream and butter. And of course, no electric kettle, no toaster, no mix master. Here are some of the kinds of kitchen utensils that would have been used at that time. Here I am in the magnificent Rio Vista dining room. This has been restored so that it looks exactly as it would have looked 130 years ago. Some very famous people, governors, prime ministers, have eaten at this very table. The servants would come in through that door, and that screen over there was used to hide the kitchen so that when the servants came in, they put the meals on that dresser and that dresser. I wonder what they would have had for their dinner. I've got lots of cutlery and crockery here. I don't know what to do with it. Is this the way you eat in the evening? It looks like they might have had soup to start with, as most families did, and then, looks like roast lamb cooked in that oven. And then I'm sure that the cook would have cooked up a very tasty pudding to finish off with. Is this the kind of way that you eat? Is this the kind of things you eat these days? Is this the kind of dining table that you have at your house for your evening meal? This is the main living quarters of Rio Vista. This is actually 2 rooms. This was called the breakfast room and this was called the drawing room. It was called the drawing room because there was a huge velvet curtain that in the evening they drew across to create this. I guess it's a bit like your lounge. You'll notice no computers, no games. So the children on these tables would have played games like Chinese checkers, drafts, all of those old games that maybe you've seen about. Down here, you will see Oh, this was an absolute luxury because this was an early type of record player, MP3 perhaps even, and they put the little cylinders on there and they wound and the music would play and it would magnify, amplify out through there. Over here, Mrs. Chaffee, Mrs. Hattie Chaffee was her name, she was a beautiful pianist. So in the evenings she would have played, the children would have gathered around and sang the pop songs of the time. And she would bring her friends in once a month for a special afternoon tea and they would all sit around the piano and entertain one another. In most rooms there is a magnificent fireplace. This one is made of marble that comes all the way from Italy. No air conditioning like you've got, no heating like you've got, so nearly every room had an open fire. How do you keep yourself warm in the evenings in winter? Here we are in what's known as the smoking room. This was really Mr. Chaffee's office, and there you see his office desk where he would have done all his work. No computer, everything would have had to be done by pen and ink and maybe even a quill. This particular book is known as the Red Book. And this was a book written by the Chaffees to try and attract settlers to come to Mildura Irrigation Colony. It was sent all around the world. Mr. Chaffee used to bring his friends in here to discuss, well, I guess what your dad discusses with his mates, business, the news, the footy, all of those things. Now remember, I told you that these stairs have secrets. They always creaked, and if the children got out of bed and started to creep downstairs, Mr. Chaffee would always hear them and say, "You children, I hear you creaking those stairs. You go back to bed straight away." Again, have a look at these magnificent stained glass windows brought out from England in pieces and put together on site. And here we had the servants' quarters. At one stage the Chaffees may have had a cook, a couple of maids, a nanny to look after the children, and certainly they had a gardener, and there's a special gardener's cottage out the back. There are actually 3 children's bedrooms. This is the little children's bedroom. As you can see, it's furnished. Most of this furniture is as it would have been original furniture, and you can actually see some of the toys that the Chaffee children would have played with. Again, you see a fireplace even in the children's bedroom to keep them warm. Here we are in the bathroom. This has been restored also. This beautiful floor, look at the tiles. And over here, of course, remember, the toilet was way, way down the back. So I better close that up so no one can see. And here, look at the bath. Imagine, no hot water. They boiled the copper once a week, and everyone had a bath in that bath. They had 8 children. Imagine what the water was like by the time the 8th one got in. And here, no one will guess what this is. Mrs. Chaffee used to roll up her hair in this, and it would come out with beautiful curls when she went out. And now we move into the main bedroom. As you can see, the bed, it's certainly not king size and made out of brass and iron. This little pocket here was for Mrs. Chaffee. Well, it's called an invalid's tidy. And at night, she would put her pills for the morning, she would put her hanky, she would put her spectacles in there that she needed for the night. And here, no electric blankets, In winter, the maid would fill that with hot water before Mrs. Chafee went to bed and tuck it right down, so when she went to bed, her bed was beautiful and snug. And again, over here, here's a secret. As I said, the toilet was way down the back. So if you urgently needed to go during the night, there was this little, it was called a chamber pot for you to go. I call it a gazunder because it goes under the bed. And again, a beautiful fireplace even in the bedroom to keep them warm. You might remember when we were outside, I showed you some stairs going down. Well, they go down to this, which was the basement. And at the basement, there was the ballroom, where Chafees used to invite people all dressed in their top hats and tails and their gowns and the tiaras. And that's why the children like to creep down those stairs and then down these stairs and watch these people dancing. Also down here, Mr. Chafee, who owned a winery, used to keep a lot of his wine here because it was cool underground. And also down there was a pantry where they could keep a lot of the food cooler than it was here upstairs, because they only got food when the paddle steamers came in once or twice a month at most, so they had to store their food for quite a long time. Thank you guys, I hope you enjoyed the tour of Rio Vista. Don't forget, this belongs to the people of Mildura and entry is free. So why don't you bring your family and all your visitors in to have a closer look sometime.